Hi, Janice. How are you today?
Hi, Kelly. I'm doing great. How about you?
Good, good. Did you have a good week?
I did.
Good.
Have a good week.
Good. So we are back to talk about the book we are reviewing, The Magic of Manifesting by Ryuu Shinohara. And we've done techniques 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to do 4 right now. Did you have anything to add to that before we start?
Nope. Just welcome to LifeTalk.
Welcome to LifeTalk, and like and subscribe. You can put comments below of anything you want us to talk about in the future. We'd be happy to entertain all suggestions.
Yep.
I'm going to do technique 4 that he recommends, and technique 4 is becoming present with your emotions. And how he describes this, and we know this from understanding quantum physics, that everything in the universe is energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we put into the world is what we receive back from the world. Because when we say everything is energy, we mean everything. All of our words, our thoughts, our energy. And so when we make statements, that goes out into the world and comes back to us. And so that's why I'm saying, becoming present with your emotions, paying attention to what you're putting in the world, especially about other people and situations. And he talks about accepting people for exactly who they are, not putting our own expectations on people, and then wishing them well. And I know this is challenging. I've had challenging people in my life. I am sure I have been a challenging person in some people's lives. So, but to be able to look at a situation or a person and accept them just exactly who they are and then wish them well, you're putting that out in the world, so that will come back to you. So, the thing that I like about this is it doesn't cost us anything to do that. It's not costing us anything to just say, I accept that you have, I don't know if it's pink or red, you have a red shirt on. I wish you well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the piece I think is hard for people is releasing all expectations. And I know I have my little soapbox for this, but I believe expectations should be about ourselves and ourselves only. My expectation should be about what I am doing, not how someone else should do something. And because they get the opportunity to do things exactly the way they want on their own, without me putting a judgment of saying that my way is better. So my expectations are for me. So that's kind of how I do that for myself, is my expectations are for me, and everyone else gets to act and behave the way they want. And I wish them well. And I have moved away from and got reminded of the practice of adding on the wishing them well. So it's a good reminder, because I want that coming back to me. So with this technique, how do you think that works in your life?
Oh, well, I may not be as good at it as you are. Those 5 the 5, well, I can't even think of it. It's a book. I can tell you who wrote it, but one of them is being impeccable with your word.
Mm-hmm.
And so you talk about letting go of the expectations of others,
Mm-hmm.
but we often want what we think we can give or are giving. And so that makes an expectation. Just like love languages. Mm-hmm. We give what we like to get, and we expect that person, we have an expectation that that person will like it as much as we do, which is not the case. But I'm just not, going back to your question, I don't think I'm as good about that as you are. I still have expectations.
And I was put in situations where I had to learn that. And
Well, I don't want to have
painfully
to
learn
learn
that.
it painfully, but I mean, do you not expect clients to show up on time?
Their opportunity is there for them to show up on time. I don't have a lot of no-shows.
Mhm.
But an example is I had a client who was always late. And when I first started working with this person, it would frustrate me so much because it's like you're wasting time. And I was putting my expectations, because I am rarely ever late. It's
Right.
just not in my DNA.
Mhm.
And I realized I'm wanting her to be like me.
Mhm.
I'm wanting her to have that within herself, that she can be on time, and she didn't have that ability.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like,
Or it wasn't as important to her as it was to you.
I think for this particular client, it just wasn't in her ability. And, I've shared with you before, I had expectations up here of my daughter, and her abilities at the time were down here.
Mhm.
This is the place you get hurt.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And this was the place where we fought all the time.
Mhm.
When I lowered my expectations to match her abilities, we quit fighting,
Of course.
and I quit getting hurt.
Right.
So that's the thing. It's like becoming aware of what emotions you have, what expectations you have of others, and go, is this fair to them?
Well, I also think that if you have an expectation, maybe you should communicate that.
Sure.
I mean, I have an expectation that you will, I don't know, show up on time. Or I have an expectation that you'll do what you say you're going to do. And it may not be time, but it's somewhere around, because it may be inhibiting me from doing something else.
Okay, that's a really good point, because what do you do if someone doesn't show up on time? Do you then delay your plans and then you're late? Or do you stick with what your expectations for yourself are?
I think that is situational.
True, I can see that.
What do you do?
Well, for this particular client, is what happened is the clock for our time, what this person was paying me, started when the appointment was scheduled.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this particular person had a couple hour session, so it didn't change my income, but it lessened the time that this person had available with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was their choice. And then as when they learned and gained the ability to be on time, they're rarely on time. I mean, rarely late anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the point is I was frustrated over someone else's behavior, and I was putting frustration out in the world and then getting frustration back. So what happens is you get situations and events that happen that create that same feeling.
Mhm.
And then you have a cycle. And
Mhm.
I didn't like feeling that way. So I had to find a way within myself to stop feeling that way, not based on someone else's behavior, but on me.
Right. Right. Which is you release those expectations so that your life doesn't become so frustrating.
Right. And I think you made a good point about uncommunicated expectations. And this is, I think, more like in an intimate relationship, whatever that intimacy is. But I used to have an expectation decades ago that the person I was living with, my husband, would lock the doors at night, and never did it. And it used to upset me so much that you don't care enough about us. And then years later, I realized I never told him that this was an expectation, that this is the way he could make me feel safe. So I had an expectation, but I never communicated that. So how do you follow through if the communication isn't there?
It's true. If you have that expectation and it really is important to you, then you have to communicate it.
You have to communicate it. Okay, so technique 4 is becoming present with your emotions, knowing what you're feeling and why you're feeling them. And are they because of someone else, or are they yours? And then we'll talk more about how to do that in future videos. All right, thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe before you leave.
All right, bye.
Bye.